decided to begin to train our youth in the Ignatian way of reading. And this made us to assemble some of our youths, and we moved them into the retreat center for 3 days. The parish paid hugely for it because our focus was to actually create leaders, Ignatian leaders, who will lead according to the Jesuit tradition. And we did sing this year. And now I'm going to share with you my observation and our observations. In the course of these past 2 years, we discovered that our youth needed far more than what we wanted of them, or what we needed them to do. We discovered that there were underlying issues that needed to be faced. We discovered that there were issues that needed to be resolved before we begin to talk about whether our leaders, our youth are actually leading effectively, or whether they need to improve their kind of leadership. Yes, we want to invest in our youth. We want them to become great leaders. We want to empower them. We want to do so much to help them become self-reliant. But we discovered deeper things, far more than what we wanted from our youth. We realized and we discovered that our youth were struggling. We discovered that most of our youth, 90% of our youth in the parish, they are masked up with smiles and cheerfulness, but they are struggling. We discovered that most of our youth were having issues with identity crisis. They can't even tell who they are. They can't even tell the potential that lies deep within them. They had so much going on. We discovered that most of our youth were abused, and they don't say it. We discovered that most of our youth have lingered deep within them unforgiveness. Imagine a youth saying, I hate my mother, I hate my father. And this same youth you see in the church with his or her family. But you would, and he or she would be smiling. You wouldn't know he had that in them. He had something weighing him or her down. We realized that our youth were broken. We realized that our youth needed a space where they could try, where they could share exactly what troubles them. That was when it dawned on me that this isn't what we should be doing. We should be helping our youth to actually know who they are, to actually be able to go through the trials of life, to actually be able to serve themselves first, love themselves first before they are able to show that love and leadership to others. I discovered that what we needed to do for our youth was far more than empowering them, was far more than teaching them to lead very well, but first to rediscover themselves. Secondly, to heal from the broken world and the brokenness our family, our church, and our society have pushed them to. And that made me to really pay attention to the universal apostolic preferences of the Society of Jesus, which was the basics of our actions from the very first time. But it made me to reflect deeply on what it was all about. And I realized that before the UAP, the 4 universal apostolic preferences were pronounced, the Jesuits and collaborators were on seat for 2.5 years, if I'm not mistaken. I think Father Uja and Father Chidbe can tell much about that. But they sat for 2 whole years, discerning, praying, and trying to see what disturbs or troubles the world. And apart from all the things they enumerated, they mentioned the need to join us were having bad leadership then, but because they have realized that our community, our society is failing us, our families are failing us, even our churches are failing us, they discovered the need for the Ignatian society and the church at large to begin to join in from the grassroots with our children before they even become youth. And when they are youth, we hold them by the hand and join in with them. And this is the third universal apostolic preference of the Society of Jesus, to join in with the youth. They didn't say we should push our opinion on them. They said we should walk with them on the path of righteousness, on the path of creating an hope-filled life. It dawned on me that the world is evolving. And because the world is evolving, we would need to evolve with the world with drastic positive changes, both in our spiritual, physical, social, and otherwise, generally all around our lives. We need to evolve along with the world. All of the political and economic corners, they have lost their values. Technology is still in our world. Technology is still in our jobs. Technology is still in our youth. Technology is still in the IQs of our children. Social media and the internet generally have become companions, have made companionship of our children. I don't know the best language to use. You see that the child is locked indoors for hours, solely with his social media handles, without talking with the parents. And our parents were carried away with, seeking for livelihood for the family, that we don't even know what is happening. Social media are eating up the minds of our children that they can no longer think. Our youths are, they have amazing mindsets, but they cannot even utilize it anymore. I love to use AI, but I'm not totally in support of AI because it is stealing the minds of our children. That is negative. There are other beautiful purposes and reasons why we need to evolve and use AI, but it is stealing the ability for our children to use their minds. And our church and families expect too much from our youth. We expect too much from our youth, forgetting that it is what we are giving to our youth that they give back to us. We expect too much. Our families are no longer the family it used to be. It's no longer the domestic church it's supposed to be. And you see, a family that's raising a child and a youth that cannot defend himself or herself in the family, that does not see the family as a place where he or she can find trust and confidentiality. When that child or youth come into the church, what do you expect? He begins to seek for hiding places. He or she begins to seek for people that are like him or her, where they can begin to form cliques. He or she begins to come to the church, not just to worship, but for his or her own dubious needs. And these 90% of our youth today in the church are like that, even if they don't get to tell you. Most of the time, we make the mistake of saying these children should come for prayer and fasting and casting and binding. My brothers and sisters, we need to do more, far more than just praying and casting and binding. We need to help our children, our youth, heal of their brokenness. We need to begin to show empathy. Now, how best do we join? Actually, I'm beginning to mention all of this. How best do we join in with our youth? How best do we join in? We have found out that the most resting place, or the place where our youth find peace, where they feel belonged, is mainly in the church. And the moment a youth realizes that he's no longer welcome in the church, what happens? He will go, and we will never see that youth again. Aside from the family, the church is another place where they find rest. But before I talk about the church, what the church needs to do, I want to quickly Because we're not going to leave this weight on the society. The society is 80 to 90% what we give of it. That's what the society gives back to us. So the responsibility of journeying with the youth according to the desires of the universal apostolic preferences of the Society of Jesus is focused and centered on the family and the church. Now, our families need to begin to build an environment of trust and confidentiality. In the course of these 2 years that we have organized our youth, we have realized that most youth are planning to run away from home. Believe me, their parents do not even know. Most youths are planning to commit suicide. Their parents do not even know. Most youths are abused by the relations around. And these things are hampering their potential. It's killing, it's weighing down their potential. The dream for a brighter future. Most youths are abused by even their parents. Imagine a parent telling the child that, you don't see Jumbo, you don't see what Jumbo is doing. Can't you do same comparison? Imagine a parent that compared the child over and over. You think that child tomorrow will become the president of our country? Because you have already subjected that child to thinking very low of himself. You have already subjected that child to self, as in inferiority complex. You have subjected that child to things you never imagined would suppress the potentials of that child. We have heard about youths that are struggling with additions, and their parents are not even aware. Their parents are not even aware. Their parents will even vouch for them. My child cannot do this. My child cannot do that. You need to listen to the voices of the therapist or spiritual director if they have the opportunity and privilege to tell you this and hear what your children share. Our children are suffering in silence. Our youth need the presence of our family, the presence of our parents, the presence of our brothers and sisters to make the house, the home, a place where trust and confidentiality lives, and they can share deeply what troubles them. They can share deeply their challenges. They can share deeply their struggles. Imagine a youth have been masturbating since he was 9 years old. Since, the moment he finished secondary school, and the parents are not aware. And he's already in his early 20s, and he's struggling because he sees it that it's written on his forehead and it's walking everywhere in the compound. He feels everybody sees this. Imagine us demanding leadership from that child. That is what the church wants. But what the family even demands from that child is small. And meanwhile, the entire lifestyle of that child is crumbling. You are sending that child to the university. My brothers and sisters, that child is struggling something more demonic than even being possessed by the demon. You see a child that is a grown youth, a 25-year-old youth that is suffering from addiction to pornography. The parents are not even aware, and this thing is killing the child. He goes to school, the only thing he thinks about or she thinks about is pornography. And this is the person, this is the youth you are talking to. You want to become great so that he or she will your countenance, the way you communicate and communicate with this young man or woman, he or she will never come to you. He or she will never come to you. In our various homes, we need to begin to learn to share. We keep talking about faith sharing here. That's the second thing we need to do. We need to start to learn to share. Starting last year, I remember Father Uja dwelling deeply on this, how we can begin to gradually teach our children to begin to share. From there, you realize that a child will come even without you asking the child anything. The young man or young woman will come to you and say, Mommy, Daddy, this is what happened in school today. Mommy, this is the decision I took. Is it right? You get, the child will begin to, on his or her own share. We need to create an environment in our various homes where we can share deeply. Let us start by faith sharing. With this, we'll have our youth opening up to us. I mentioned that we stop comparing our children. Please stop comparing your children with others. Please start using your mouth to bless your children. Even when your children are not going in the direction, you know you have done your best, and this child is not going in the direction you want. Please, don't compare them and don't curse them. The word of your mouth as a father or as a mother matters most. It matters a lot. You hear a child around our environment. A child wakes up in the morning and the first thing he's hearing is the mother or father raining abusive words on that child. My brothers and sisters, how will that child reign? How will that child survive? Let us stop abusing our children as a causes now, final causes. Abusing, we abuse their rights, we abuse them in one way or the other. If we are doing safeguarding now, we will understand all of that. Let us try to protect the rights of our children. Let us give them what they need. Now, if you don't have it, your children know you don't have it. They know deep within you don't have it. And every child that has grown in a very peaceful and open home will understand when their parents have and when they do not have. And they will work with you to manage the little you have. So let us deviate from all kinds of abuses, sending our children to do all kinds of atrocities. How many of our youth these days are doing pop girls, some are doing what's it called? Yahoo Plus. We have many of our youths doing Yahoo Plus. And they come to the church, they bring money to you, to the house, as into their homes. They come to the church with you, they give you money to donate. You do not ask them, where is this money coming from? My brothers and sisters, these are the youths you want the church to now, train to become leaders. You see that all of these abnormalities begin from our homes. The domestic church, the very first place where the child is supposed to learn. We were coming from we were driving on the road, and a young man in his, I think 23 year, I think in his 20s, around 22, 23, he looks 22, 23, or in his early 20s. He was crying profuse, as in he was sobbing. What happened? They bashed the car he was driving. It was obvious the car wasn't his. And we were just trying to comfort him and help him, move. There were people helping him to move the vehicle. He felt so destabilized. Ross, calm down. Now what is it? You should be grateful that you are okay and nothing happened to you. He said, no, my father will kill me. My father will kill me. And truly, in a space of 15 minutes, the father came. And the first thing the father did was to smack the face of this boy. And I'm like, what? What is this? First of all, you should be grateful. There's something that's value to life. You should be grateful that this boy is okay. The very first thing I expect that man to do was to come and say, oh, thank God you are okay. If it were, as in from my own view, thank God you are okay. But once we get home, we get to sit down and trash it. We get this how you grind him. Let us try to begin to look for other alternatives to talk with our children, to administer punishment, or how do I say it in English? But I hope you are understanding it. Let us begin to look for ways to make our children brothers and sisters, this world is evolving. We need to look for better ways to nurture, to correct our children out of love. I'm not against you discipline, as in making discipline on your children. If you don't do it the right way, your child will come out with inferiority complex. Your child will come out with self-esteem issues. Your child will come out with, oh, I'm not loved. Most of our youth are lonely. Most of our youth, the only thing they do is to make comments on their status and talk about committing suicide. A youth in our parish here watching the status and he says, I'm all alone. There's no need for this work. I mean, there's no need for me to be in this work. And he said it like 3 days ago. He repeated it again about 2 days ago. Thank God his house is around 2nd. The moment I saw it, I realized the routine in the post. I just said, okay, let me walk down. I told my family I just need to walk down after 8 p.m. Usually I'm very scared of the night. Only for me to walk down, and I met the mother. Where is your son? He said it's inside the house. Please, I really need to see him. Because I followed my intuition that says something is going on. But if I don't handle it now, I will not even remember. Only for the boy to come out all drunk. And he said, Mommy, I am tired. That was okay. I've not even said anything. The moment he saw me, Mommy, I am tired. I just hugged him and I said, say no more. Whatever you've got to do in your mind, please wipe it off your mind. And the mother was there. She knew nothing. She knew nothing. That again, I'm appealing to each and every one of us. We view people's status and we think it's for fun. Some persons will just be sending raw messages and signals on their status. Please pay very key attention to all of this. Now we go to what the church needs to do. The last thing I'm here to tell us as parents, let us celebrate the small wins of our children, not only when they do wrong. You see, when you celebrate the small wins of your child, the next time the child will do double, will do triple. Let us celebrate the small wins. When their results do not come out well in school, please let us pay attention to encouraging them and not giving them rooms for setbacks, giving them room for discouragements, or I don't know how best to put it in English. Then what do the church do? How will the church journey with all of our youth? Now once the domestic church is doing their bits, once the domestic church is acting, now this is what the church will be doing. All of our youth have realized that immediately after those 3 days of training, we call it the Ignition Leadership Studio. But from our reflection, we will be changing it because it's deeper than that. Yes. After all of that, we realized our youth came out with joy. We felt the need to do more. Now, if the church will help our youth by encouraging the examen, you see what we have been doing at the early stages of our gatherings. The examen help us to be aware of our individual selves, aware of our environment, and aware of how God connects with us, aware of God's overwhelming love. The second thing I want us as a church to begin to do, which we have started already among our youth, is to teach them what it is to discern. Discerning is not only, it's not when you discern between a good and a bad choice. No. Discernment is making choices between two goods. Please, we need to always get that clear. Now, we need to help our children to begin to discern and discern rightly. We are trying to teach our children the rules of discernment. The first set of rules that deals with consolation, and the second set of rules that deals with consolation. The first set of 14 rules that deals with desolation, and the second set that deals with consolation. We are trying to open them to it so that they begin to know what they need to do and not to do when they are making decisions or when the life struggles weigh down on them. We are continuing formation. We are going to be sending more of our youth for trainings and formation for self, awareness and all that. We need to, that's very intense engages the minds of our youth. It could be sporting activity. That's why I love it so much when Papa Uja was talking about reviving the sports facilities in the compound and even other activities. I love it when the lady chairman talked about starting a quiz competition, with very juicy prize gifts. I love it when you see well when did the sport activities. We need to begin to involve our youth in activities that will spur their minds, that will make them feel, belong, feel loved, and feel welcome with the little performance or acts they do. We need to begin to share with our youth what it is to share in the sufferings of others. Please stop saying, the suffer when I suffer, no one may like the suffering. The way what happened to me, I don't want it to happen to my pikin. Because of that, you protect and you shield your child. That is the person you want us to train to become leaders. That is the person you want to become the president of Nigeria. Now, the last I want to talk about, we need to begin to train our youth in our parishes, and we're doing that already, and we want every one of us to be a part of this training. We need to begin to train our youth that our kind of religion, our kind of Christianity is a service-based Christianity. It will affect everything